Sandeep truck driver shares his story. He says, "Although I belong to India, I have been driving a truck in the USA for many years. During this time, I have encountered many different roads and weather conditions. Roads with mountains, dense forests, and extreme climates. One day, I set out from my logistics company with my truck, pulling 2 trailers. My route took me through forests and remote roads. I had left the city behind, and the cold was extreme. I had turned on the truck's heater, and I was alone on this journey. Trucks here are so advanced and fully automatic that sometimes the driver feels like just a passenger. I had to drive for a full day and night. Along the way, there were motels, but I rarely stopped there. Being used to spicy food, I didn't like the food available there. Instead, I carried my own supplies and preferred to stop in scenic spots to cook my meals in the truck. This way, I enjoyed both my passion for travel and my profession." A whole day had passed, and I had now entered an area experiencing heavy snowfall. The truck's speed was slow, making the journey even slower. My company had trackers installed in the truck and monitored the route's weather conditions, so there were no major issues. It was now late at night. Due to the snowfall, the headlights' visibility was reduced. I was exhausted, so I found a spot to park the truck. I decided to eat and rest for a while. I covered the truck's windows with curtains, making the cabin completely sealed. Nothing could be seen from inside or outside. I boiled some water and decided to make noodles, since I was too tired. The place where I had parked was in the middle of a dense forest, completely covered in snow. It was so eerie that any person would be terrified at night. Anyway, after eating my noodles, I lay down behind the driver's seat and started using my phone. Outside, it was so silent that even the slightest noise could be heard. I couldn't sleep because there was a risk of the truck getting stuck in the snow. I had only an hour to rest before I had to move the truck. Suddenly, I heard footsteps on the snow approaching from a distance. At first, I dismissed it, thinking it was my imagination, but as I listened carefully, I realized someone was indeed walking toward my truck. The troubling part was, who could be here in this deserted, snow-covered jungle? There was no human settlement nearby. The footsteps stopped right next to my cabin. I held my breath, trying not to make any noise. The presence outside didn't move. It just stood there in complete silence, which was even more terrifying. I had locked both doors from inside. Minutes passed, and suddenly, I heard someone trying to turn the lock on my driver's side door. My heartbeat raced. It was freezing outside. No human could stand still in such cold for so long. But whoever was out there was persistently trying to open the door. I was helpless. I had never been this scared before. After struggling with the lock for a while, they stopped. Then I heard footsteps moving toward the other side of the truck. Now they were trying to unlock the passenger side door. I could feel the lock moving, as if someone was twisting it. I feared that at any moment, they would break the lock and enter. After a while, the lock was left alone again, and silence followed. But I had a gut feeling that whoever was outside was still standing next to the truck. Then, I heard more footsteps. This time, 2 more people were approaching. I could tell by their voices that one was a man, one was a woman, and one was a small child, around 12 years old. However, they were speaking in a language I couldn't understand. For a moment, I considered opening the door to see if they were humans in need of help. But how could they be standing still in such extreme cold? I carefully peeked through a small gap in the curtain, making sure they wouldn't see me. But to my shock, there was no one outside. The voices suddenly stopped, as if they sensed me, watching. My fear was beyond explanation. I stayed still, waiting for their next move. An hour had passed. My fear had completely overtaken any thought of resting. I realized the figures were now walking away from the truck. This was my only chance. To escape, I quickly moved to the driver's seat, quietly removed the curtains, started the truck, and turned on the headlights. As soon as I switched on the lights, I saw something horrifying. There in the distance were 3 figures: a man, a woman, and a child. Their faces looked rotten, with bloodstains on their noses and mouths like decayed corpses. The child, however, innocently waved goodbye to me. I pressed the accelerator, trying to drive away, but unfortunately, the truck was stuck in the snow. The figures turned towards me and started walking in my direction. My truck was struggling to move, and panic set in. They were now in the range of my headlights. I could see them clearly, their faces, their lifeless eyes. They were getting closer. My truck roared, trying to gain traction, and then, miraculously, it moved. The truck broke free from the snow, and I sped away. As I drove past them, my eyes locked with theirs. They just stood there, watching me leave. I checked my side mirror one last time. They were still standing there, staring at me. No reaction, no movement, just watching. I escaped that place, but the nightmare didn't end there. My troubles were far from over. Due to the heavy snowfall, visibility was almost zero. And then, another disaster struck. My truck skidded on black ice and got stuck again. With no way forward and no one around to help, I had only one option: to call for backup. I reached for the walkie-talkie inside my truck and contacted my base, informing them that I was stranded in the snow. After I contacted my base via the walkie-talkie, the people there saw my location on their system. They checked the map and informed me that there was a workshop about 5 kilometers to the east. They urged me to go there and get help, since they were having trouble reaching me themselves. I told them, "I can't see anything around here and the cold is bone-chilling. Please, contact them somehow and get help." I couldn't fully explain that something very unusual was going on out here. I then thought, if I do nothing, in just a few hours my truck might get so stuck in the snow that even if help eventually arrives, I'd be in deep trouble. So I gathered my belongings, put on my jacket, and grabbed a heavy-duty flashlight along with my walkie-talkie. I then got out of the truck to search for that workshop. The problem was that I had to retrace my path, the very same route I had taken earlier, where I had seen a family, a husband, his wife, and their son. Continuing along the trail, I noticed the footprints of those 3 individuals leading in one direction. Their tracks were both eerie and alarming, making me wonder who they might be. With my torch in hand, I followed those footprints as I trudged through the deep snow. It took me nearly half an hour of difficult walking. Meanwhile, I stayed in touch with my base via the walkie-talkie, and they confirmed that I was headed in the right direction. Soon, I came upon an old house right in the middle of the forest. The same footprints led straight into it. Initially, I was openly following them, but once I saw the house, I decided to hide. It was a very old, almost vintage house. I crept up to one of its windows, trying to peer inside to see who these people were and why they lived there. Yet, I couldn't see anyone. Cautiously, I moved toward the main door. Taking a deep breath, I slowly pushed it open and slipped inside. My eyes darted around as I explored each room carefully. But the house was empty. That's when I made a mistake. Despite my efforts to move like a character from a spy movie, I had forgotten that the volume on my walkie-talkie was set to full. Suddenly, a loud call echoed through the silent house.
Calling Sandy. Sandy, calling Sandy. Why have you stuck to this location? Are you all right? Can you hear us, Sandy? Please speak
Before I could react, the distant but unmistakable sound of a dog barking sent a jolt of fear through me. Someone was coming toward the house. Instinctively, I dashed into a storage room and held my breath. From my hiding spot, I peered through a crack in the door. Moments later, the very same family, the man, the woman, and the child, stepped inside. Their presence was unsettling. They whispered in a strange language, their eyes wide open, scanning the room as if they could sense my presence. Slowly, the child moved toward my hiding place, followed closely by the rest of the family. My heart pounded furiously. Had they discovered me? Panic set in. Frantically, I scanned the storage room for a way out and spotted a light fixture with a mirror attached. Without thinking, I grabbed a heavy object, whatever was within reach, and smashed the fixture. The sudden crash shattered the silence. Seizing my only chance, I bolted out of the house and landed hard onto the snow. Almost instantly, the aggressive barking of a dog grew closer, followed by the sounds of hurried footsteps. I didn't wait to see what was coming. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted toward the nearest hill. My breath came in ragged gasps, my heart pounding as I climbed higher and higher, desperate to put distance between myself and whatever was behind me. After nearly 20 minutes of frantic walking, I stumbled onto a small road, one seemingly built by local residents. Relief flooded me as I grabbed my walkie-talkie and contacted my control room. They informed me that I was close to a few houses, a workshop, a tie shop, and even a motel. Shaking from both the cold and my terrifying experience, I asked them about my truck status. They assured me I was in a location where my truck would eventually have to pass through had I continued on the main road. However, I had taken an inner shortcut, avoiding the longer route that would have taken an additional 30 to 35 minutes. The people at the workshop must have noticed my distress. They offered me a cup of coffee, though its warmth did little to chase away the chill I felt inside. As I slowly regained my composure, they asked why I looked so shaken. I recounted everything: the footprints, the house, the strange family, the chase. Their faces grew solemn. Then, one of them spoke. That house, no one goes there. It's been abandoned for decades. Back in 1915, bandits raided the home and slaughtered the family that lived there. Since then, travelers on the highway have reported seeing a man, a woman, and a child begging for help. But they aren't real. They never were. A shiver ran down my spine as they told me the full story. The workshop team eventually helped me recover my truck, freeing it from the snow. Before leaving, I took a picture of them with my instant camera, a habit I had developed during my travels. As the film developed, I felt my blood turn to ice. I stared at the photo in disbelief, my hands trembling, because in that picture, behind the family who had just helped me, stood three shadowy figures: a man, a woman, and a child.